Hello everyone and welcome back to another ASMR true crime story. Today's case is called Missing at the Mole or Murdered by Mum, and it's about the 30-year disappearance of 4-year-old D1 Sims. The Wonderland Mole in Livonia, Michigan was crowded with shoppers on the afternoon of Sunday, December the 11th, 1994. There were Christmas displays throughout the mall, and people were in a festive mood as they wandered in and out of the mall's 80 different stores. The atmosphere changed around 4 p.m. when an announcement that security was trying to locate a lost child was heard. 4-year-old D1 Sims had wandered away from his mother, Dewana Harris, and no one had been able to find him. As the crowd of shoppers began to leave the mall, police arrived to conduct a search of the property. The search for D1 would end up being one of the largest and longest the state of Michigan had ever seen. D1 was a typical little boy, energetic and full of life. He lived with his mother, Dewana, and his mother's boyfriend, Victor Jackson, on Detroit's west side. The three had recently moved into a new apartment on Vaughan Street. Neighbours hadn't had time to get to know him well, but said that they seemed to be a quiet and pleasant family. They would often see Dewan playing outside, and Dewana was always there, keeping a close eye on him. She worked at a telemarketing company during the week, and it enrolled Dewan in nearby Sunnybrook Day Nursery so he could be around other children his age. The weekend had been fairly routine until Dewan went missing. Dewana and one of her cousins had spent Saturday afternoon getting their hair done, and Dewana brought her son with her to the beauty salon. She stopped by a fast food restaurant to get him some lunch on the way there, and Dewan ate his cheeseburger and watched cartoons while his mother chatted with her cousin and the hairdresser. Dewana and Victor had plans to go out that night, so Dewan spent the night at the home of a family friend. Dewana woke up around 10 a.m. on Sunday and gathered some dirty laundry before she went to pick up Dewan from her friend's house. The little boy had been up for hours playing basketball and telling his mother's friend all about the Power Rangers figure he wanted to buy when he went to the mall with his mother that afternoon. He had been thrilled to see his mother and rushed to put his shoes on so he could run out to her car. They stopped by the laundromat first, and Dewan watched cartoons while Dewana did 5 loads of laundry. They then loaded up the car with the clean laundry, stopped by her mother's house to pick up a vacuum cleaner, and took everything back to their apartment. Dewana later told police that she had no previous plans to go to the mall, but made a spur-of-the-moment decision after taking the laundry home. She was initially going to leave Dewan home with her boyfriend, but he was taking a nap when they arrived at the apartment, and she figured he wouldn't want to be bothered with babysitting, so she took Dewan to the Wonderland Mall with her. According to Dewan's babysitter, however, Dewan had mentioned that morning that his mother was taking him shopping, so it's unclear when the actual decision was made. The drive from the apartment to the mall took about a half hour, and Dewana told police she arrived sometime around 1:45 p.m. She and Dewan parked and entered the mall realising that Dewan was no longer with her. Dewana searched around the mole on her own for 2 hours before she decided to alert mole security that her child was missing. She went up to the first person she saw who had a radio, assuming they were part of the security team. The woman she approached was actually a cleaning lady, but she used her radio to call the security office at 4 p.m. and informed them that there was a lost child. Members of the mole security team responded immediately and began searching the area, but they found no traces of Dewan. After alerting security, Dewana mentioned that her mother worked part-time at Lady Foot Locker, so she checked to see if Dewan had gone to visit his grandmother. He wasn't there, and Beverly Harris was shocked to learn that he had been missing for more than 2 hours, and she was just now being told about it. She immediately left work and joined the search. After searching the entire mole without locating Dewan, a member of the mole security team decided to call the Livonia Police Department. They conducted another search of the entire mole, including the basement and other areas that are not usually accessible to customers. They found nothing to indicate that Dewan was still in the mole, and worried that he might have wandered outside and gotten lost or been abducted. They continued searching the area around the mole throughout the night, but found nothing. After searching the entire mole without locating Dewan, a member of the mole security team decided to call the Livonia Police Department. They conducted another search of the entire mole, including the basement and other areas not usually accessible to customers. They found nothing to indicate that Dewan was still in the mole, and worried that he might have wandered outside and gotten lost or been abducted. They continued searching the area around the mole throughout the night, but found nothing. On Monday, several other agencies joined the search for Dewan. In addition to the Livonia Police Department, members of the FBI, the Detroit Police Department, and the Michigan State Police all took part in the investigation. The mole was searched a third time using tracking dogs, but they found nothing relevant to the disappearance. Detectives interviewed mole employees and pulled all of the mole surveillance footage for Sunday. None of the employees they spoke with recalled seeing Dewan in the mole, though a couple remembered seeing Dewan late in the afternoon. A few detectives were sent to interview Dewana Harris, Victor Jackson, and Beverly Harris, while others remained behind to start the tedious process of watching the surveillance footage. They were hoping one of the cameras would show which direction Dewan had wandered off in, and whether or not he had left the mole with anyone. Detectives spoke with Dewan's biological father and confirmed that he had nothing to do with his son's disappearance. He had not seen the child since Thanksgiving and had a solid alibi showing he was not in the area on Sunday. They didn't learn anything new from Dewana Harris. She repeated what she had told the initial officers on scene about entering through Target and losing track of Dewan shortly after that. She admitted that she never held his hand when they were out shopping because he liked to feel independent, and she was used to him going off in his own while they were at the grocery store. Prior to Sunday, he had always returned to her side within a few minutes. It took hours for police to go through all the surveillance footage gathered from the many cameras at the mole searching for Dewan prior to alerting security. This was disputed by the surveillance footage. There was no way she could have searched around the entire mall without appearing on at least one of the security cameras. She simply wasn't there. Armed with this information, detectives began taking a closer look at Dewana. She continued to insist that the day had happened exactly as she had first told them, though she had no explanation for why Dewan was never seen on film. She did allow them to search her residence, and nothing incriminating was found. She also agreed to come down to the police station and take a polygraph exam. By Tuesday morning, it was clear that police were beginning to doubt Dewana's version of events, but her family stood by her. Beverly Harris insisted that they were only focusing on her daughter because of a recent South Carolina case. 6 weeks before Dewan went missing, Susan Smith had claimed a black man abducted her 2 children, but it was soon learned that she had actually killed them herself. Beverly believed that the publicity this case received had tainted the way police now viewed her daughter. Police ignored the comments. Dewana was given 2 polygraph examinations and she failed them both. She said she only failed them because she was upset over the situation in general and not because she was guilty. Police were unable to find any physical evidence linking her to her son's disappearance, but were convinced they would be able to make a case against her. Police were convinced they would be able to make a case against Dewana if they found Dewan's body. They moved their searches away from the mall area and began concentrating on areas closer to Dewana's home, but they were unable to find anything. Dewan's family was irate over the fact that the police were focused on finding a body. They insisted that Dewan had been abducted and was likely still alive. They had missing person posters printed and handed out, and flyers with Dewan's picture and description, begging people to help them find the missing 4-year-old. They offered a $5,000 reward for information leading to his safe return. Police received numerous calls regarding possible sightings of Dewan, and they followed up on each of them, but were never able to confirm that he was still in the area. A total of 50 investigators were assigned to the case in the months after he disappeared, and they interviewed hundreds of people without finding any solid evidence about what might have happened to Dewan. They continued to conduct physical searches all over the city of Detroit and in several suburban areas, using dogs, horses, ATVs and helicopters. They checked in trash cans, dumpsters, cars, abandoned buildings, parks and the homes of all of Dewan's relatives, but never found a shred of evidence connected to the case. Beverly Harris told reporters that the police had been very nice to the family, but she still believed they were focusing too much on Dewana. She thought the idea that her daughter was involved was completely ridiculous. Indeed, everyone police interviewed echoed the sentiment that Dewana was a loving and concerned parent who had always been a great mother to Dewan. There were no allegations of abuse or neglect, and Dewan had been a happy and well-adjusted child who exhibited no signs of a troubled home life. Police continued to publicly doubt Dewana's version of what happened the day Dewan went missing, and she eventually grew tired of their veiled threats and hired a prominent attorney. She was too distraught to return to her job and seldom left the house in the months after her son's disappearance, but she continued to hold on to the hope that her son was still alive and would be returned to her. Detectives believed the key to solving the case would be to determine exactly what Dewana a part-time job at the Wonderland Mall, unable to return to the place where her grandson was last seen. The mall itself was torn down in 2003. Over the years, investigators have continued to sporadically look at Dewan's case, but they have never been able to determine what happened to him. They investigated more than 1,200 potential leads, but none of them led to the missing boy. His